Let's now move on to the next section and understand what if analysis. Under what if analysis, we are basically testing the inputs. We are basically trying to do sensitivity analysis in order to check if the input changes, what happens to the output. In quest to learn about what if analysis, the first thing that we're going to learn is about the one-dimensional data tables. Now, how do you use these dimensional data tables? These tables will help you in doing the sensitivity analysis of the output. We know that for certain output, input is required. So when the input changes, the output is automatically going to change. Okay, so this is basically the sensitivity analysis. We want to find out how sensitive the output is in case the input changes, right? So whenever the input is going to change, the output is also going to change. It is because output is dependent upon the variable inputs, and when the input would change, the output variables would also change. So what this is called is known as the scenario analysis or a sensitivity analysis. Here we're going to use only one dimension. Okay, we're going to do it using only one variable. We're going to change only one variable. Hence, it is called as the one-dimensional data tables. If you have a look at this data over here, if you are someone from the non-finance background, you might not understand this. This is basically a problem wherein there are a few inputs which make up a output. For example, in this question, the value is the output, and this value is dependent upon three variables over here, such as the WACC, the growth rate, and the net cash flow. Okay, so you just need to keep these things in mind, even if you're finding it difficult to locate or understand what this problem is exactly. You just have to keep in mind that the value over here is an output of three input variables such as WACC, growth rate, and net cash flow. You need to remember again that output is dependent upon various inputs, and at this stage, since we're going to change only one variable, which is going to be WACC, we're going to call this as a one-dimensional data table. Before we do that, let's just understand this formula of value. In order to check any formula, we hit the F2 on your keyboard and you will find that this value has been found out using a formula which is F19 net cash flow divided by the WACC minus the growth rate. Fine. So this output is dependent upon these three variables in a certain manner in this formula. What we're going to do is let's change this WACC and we can see how the value would change. As of now, the value is 198.9. Now let's see what happens if you change this WACC to 8%. If I keep this at 8%, you will find that the value has drastically increased from 199 to 312.5. Okay, so this is how you basically create scenarios. But what we just did was doing it mechanically. We want something through which we can do it in no time and without any error as such. Right? So now let's calculate or do this sensitivity analysis using one dimension data tables. Before starting this, what we need to do is we need to link your WACC as well as the value over here. That is the minimum that we need to do. I'll just remove the effects that I had done just to show you how the value changed when you change the WACC. Now over here, let's now link the WACC, and here we link the output, which is the value. Once we have linked this, we have WACC and value in place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set some input, some WACC over here, and then using the formula we're going to find out what would be the value. So let's say the WACC starts from, let's say, 8%, 9%, 10%, 11, 12, 13 and 14. So with the WACC in place, now what we're going to do is we're going to find the value. In order to do that, we're going to use Under the data tab, under what if analysis, we have the option of data tables. This is what we're going to use. But before that, what you need to do is you need to select this table, this data over here. Go to the data tab, what if analysis, data tables, and now what it asks you is the row input cell as well as the column input cell. Now since we are considering only one variable and it is going to be a one dimensional data table, you're going to link only one of them. Now what is going to be in our case, is it going to be a row input cell or a column input cell? It's going to be a column input cell. Always remember, when you have a columnar data, what we do is we put the column input cell. If you have data in the form of a row, it comes under row input cell. If you see over here, you'll notice that the WACC, we have listed them in the columnar fashion, in the vertical fashion, hence we're going to put the column input cell. And what would be the link? Will we link 10.3% from here? No, we're going to link it directly from the original table. Always remember this, a point of caution, link your input from the original table only. Okay, now once you're done with that, what you need to do is just click on OK. As soon as you click on OK, you'll find that the entire table has now been filled up with the value. So when the input of WACC is 10%, the value is 208.3. When it is 12%, it is 156.3. So what you're doing over here is basically finding out how your output or your value changes when one of your inputs, such as WACC, changes. Now, how do we check if what we have done is correct? Try putting in 10.3 over here, and you'll find that this data matches. There's a slight difference, that is because we have not considered the perfect decimal points in 10.3%. Otherwise, you'll see that this is quite near, and hence what we have done is quite perfect over here, right? So this was about one-dimensional data tables which can be used in order to do sensitivity analysis of the output. We are basically checking how the output changes when the input changes. Next, what we're going to do is learn about two-dimensional data tables wherein two input variable changes, and how it affects the output is what we're going to see next.